Hey everyone, Brazilian purple clay. Is it purple? Does it stay purple in soap? What did you say? There are fakes out there? Are you kidding me? What? Okay. Kidding aside, we're testing Brazilian purple clay. Wow, be careful saying that one. Um, we have two very different looks for these and two very different results. There are there's really uh, no great guideline on what's what, but any clay company, unfortunately, can lie and put additives. But both of the purple clays I have say that they are 100% pure, natural Brazilian purple clay with no added colorants, no additives, etc. So it could be true. I don't know. I do know that things can change color when the pH alters it. That happens quite a bit. And in the world of colorants and soap, etc., in general. Um, the pH can change the color. And same thing with in cosmetics. But we're testing these two today anyway. And if you have a clue whether one is fake or not, let me know. They're both good clays and they both, spoiler alert, test quite nicely in the soaps. The lather test is coming up very, very soon. Um, in fact, this is my last of the clay soap in Melton clays in Melt and Pour soap series until the lather test. And then there will be more. They just won't be lather tested, at least not for a while. So this is my last little quick. As you can see, I have my yellow one up there, the yellow illite clay that I called Velveeta cheese. That one's at the top because I filmed these at the same time. So just ignore it. Um, I was too lazy to cover it with a frame or a weird thing. So that's the way it is. Anyway, you have a very, very brilliant purple clay and a very, very pale lavender purple clay. And I'm putting about, as you may have read at the top, putting about a teaspoon of each in the little cups. And then I end up putting a teaspoon each of glycerin. You'll see I kind of wanted to experiment, as I said in the last video, with dissolving or dispersing rather the clays in distilled water. And I kind of tried to with this. I think I added too much distilled water. Either way, I didn't have the results I wanted, and I didn't have the time to fiddle with it too much and keep trying and keep trying. So I ended up making myself a mask with the one that I added distilled water to and emptying and rinsing that cup and starting again, as you'll see in the text above. And I went to my old standby, which is glycerin. I have not yet tested one in oil. That will be a down the road for the continuing of the clay series. I have lots of things to add to this, but I wanted to get the main points down of just testing these different clays and soap and how much can you add and what does it do for your skin, or what does it feel like for your skin? What does it do to the lather? What does it do to the soap? All those good things. What happens when you add too much? Um, and we will get to all of that in the lather test coming up, like I said. Um, these clays are absolutely stunning. They're so pretty, before and after. So, regardless of what happens, they end up making beautiful soaps, and I'm very, very happy about that. I can't wait to experiment some more with this lavender, light lavender kind of purple clay. Partially because this is the first time I've ever used it. The dark, bright purple one there, I have used before. I've used it in a number of products, and it has an interesting effect. I do believe it is one that is drastically altered by pH levels, and you'll see in the when I mix the soap in what happens to the color. And I have done. I have used it in cosmetic products as well. I've made a really lovely face cream wash, foaming. I don't even remember what I called it. Anyway, it was really quite lovely with the Brazilian purple clay that is darker. And it did not, because the pH is less than the pH of regular soap, because most people don't like or don't have a great result with very alkaline um, soaps, which I mean, traditional soap is very alkaline. So, that's why a lot of people won't use regular soap on their face. So the cream cleanser I made was quite lower in alkalinity, or it was higher in acidity. I don't remember the exact number, but it was face friendly. And while it did alter the color, it didn't alter it as much as the soap did alter the color. So interesting little side bit there. And I don't know if that means it's a fake or not. It really, it is a clay and it does do wonderful things for skin. So if they added colorant, I don't know. If it just was altered by the pH, interesting that the lighter purple one was not affected by the pH. I'm spoiling all of the experiment here right now. But they're interesting things to know about these, and I do want you to stick around to see the results because they came out quite lovely, and I want you to kind of watch the color change magic as it happens because I think that's kind of fun. I think in the long term of things of what I might do to test these further or just to kind of experiment with design is I might want to do this lighter purple clay that you see me mixing here. After I mixed it with the glycerin rather than the water because I just liked that better. And it mixed in quite well, as I mentioned. It really stirred in beautifully. I still ended up with lumps, so you still have to be extremely cautious. And I have a way I'm going to kind of work on combating that in a video upcoming. Not soon, down the road a bit. I'm playing with some different ways to mush those lumps. But I think I would like to try with a clear soap base. This was not quite part of the set I was making for my project that all needed to be detergent free and fragrance free, or all fragrance oil free. These are again more natural, so they're detergent free soaps, and the colorants are all natural because they're clays, and the fragrance is added through essential oils, being very cautious with it. I used Ylang Ylang Extra for that one right there, the brighter purple. For the lavender, I used lavender. I know, really creative on that one, Terry, but I think it went together, and they both smelled marvelous. Um, Anyway, that is what I did for fragrance with these. Even though I wasn't using them for the same project, I kind of wanted to stick to the same idea since I've been doing that for this whole Clays in Melt and Pour Soap series. So that is why I did that. But I would like to, down the road, try to do that, try to do something with that lighter purple clay in um, in a clear soap. Maybe premium crystal clear. I don't know. Maybe detergent free. I don't know because it doesn't have to be crystal clear for you to see the color quite nicely in it. I like to use the premium crystal clear for my art soaps when clarity is necessary for you to see a picture or an image, something like that. But not every soap that every time you use clear does it need to be that perfectly clear. So you can use the detergent free clear for things like just getting a brilliant color. And I highly recommend it if you want a bright color or an intense color, because anytime you add white soap base of any kind, you are going to get a paler color. It's going to be fairly pastel. I added again a large amount of clays because that's part of this series, and we'll be discussing the amounts and the consequences of said amounts in the next clay video, the lather video. But the just notice how color rich that one still is. So, but it's not as brilliant as it started, and neither is it purple. It's a beautiful terracotta color. Um, I I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's just not purple. So whether that is pH or whether that is because there was some um, other colorant added that altered in the pH. I know the clay isn't altered by heat by the melted soap because like I said, I have tried that clay in a cosmetic product, a face product, and it was more purple than the terracotta, but it wasn't as bright purpley pink as it is on its own in the package, or even when you add just plain water to it, it retains that brilliant purple color. So could be the pH thing. That's my guess. I know it's not the heat. Um, if you notice, I don't ever reheat these. I don't need to reheat anything. And people have been asking me about that because I've been doing that a lot in the clay soaps. I don't need to reheat it. Why? Several reasons. First, starting off with the base. It is a detergent free base and it is from Wholesale Supplies plus Crafter's Choice brand. Their soaps have a lower melting point and the detergent free soaps even lower than the premium, and they stay open for longer. You you I wouldn't use the basic if you want it to stay open for longer. That sets up slightly quicker than the premium. Um, but it stays open longer. It takes less heat to heat it up, and will, like I say, you can really get a lot of open and working time. I didn't reheat any of this at any point. Clays will also help keep the soap liquid for longer and open for longer. It also means it takes it longer to set up. Just please keep that in mind if you're going to make clay soaps. Let them sit overnight. Or 24 hours. You're really going to find that it's so much easier to unmold and slice and deal with. Um, these all were fine because they were very small soaps. These are 4-ounce soaps. I made 4 of them. I used 1 pound in total of the base and just divided it. I melted the soap all together and then as you saw, mixed the clays in those little silicone cups. If you like to do design work, I highly recommend these little silicone cups. They are fantastic for precision pouring and for getting right down close to your soap, like with a project like this. And you can find those on Amazon. I'll try to remember to leave the link in my description box. I haven't been very good about that lately. If you notice something that's not in the description box and you would like the information on it or a link, please just ask me. I'll be happy to post it. I just sometimes forget especially when I get busy or in a hurry. So that's not intentional. I did put, as you saw, a little bit of the darker Brazilian clay, the terracotta color, on top of that one with along with the lavender color. Um, I I kind of was thinking it needed a little more soap in it and did that, but I also thought, why not have one that's combined? These are all going to be, well, you'll see in a moment once they are set up. I do cut them in half and make adorable little uh, travel size soaps. They're a little bigger than what I would call a sample. You might give a nice big generous sample like that. Could be considered a sample soap. Travel soap is great. I'm using them for some grab bags I'm making, teaching a face care class at my sister's shop, and all of the participants are going to get a cute little grab bag just because. And this is one of the items that may be in the grab bag, depending on who gets what grab bag. But they came out just a perfect little size for that, at least in my opinion. I hope when you see the end and see the size of them that you'll think, oh, that's kind of cool. And maybe you could do the same thing with this very popular rectangle mold that makes 4-ounce soaps. You could just cut them in half and have really cute little 2-ounce soaps. And I did take the time. Well, you'll see it in a moment, but I take the time to bevel them because they are a little gift. So I kind of wanted them to look special. I think the swirling itself looks special. the swirling of the two clay colors happened very nicely. Again, pouring at a very low temperature. I let the detergent free setup. Oh, here's the gross part. That was a good example of what happens when you add too much clay or it doesn't incorporate well enough, or both. So we'll talk more about that at the lather test, but you'll see how I remedy that. And you'll also notice in the lavender ones, the back has a couple of little specks, but not really bad. And it didn't have it stirred in a lot better than the darker one, and because I use glycerin with both, it can't be that. So just be aware of the kind of clay you're using. Get to know the clays you're using before you make a big project. I would always test in small batches like this. This is the perfect kind of batch to use for testing, and that's why I think they make great little sample soaps, because unless you completely ruin it by adding botanicals that will make it rot or way too much fragrance oil or what have you, you're going to have a really good little sample soap bar. It doesn't need to be perfect to be a sample. I was only, like I said, beveling these because I wanted them to be a little special as a gift, but they'd still make great samples. Samples can sometimes be the ugliest things I've seen, and people still love them, especially if they are giveaways. People appreciate getting a little something extra. So here is now I let that set longer and it did come right out. Yes, it did have some clay at the bottom that was not incorporated very well. Um, and you'll see again how I remedy it. But at least that one wasn't still goopy. The other one dried by the time I was ready to cut them. So again, that just goes to prove that this type of soap and the type of things we're playing with, adding the glycerin, adding the clay, does make it take longer to set up. But I also will note that the lighter purple ones were set up just fine, whereas the darker purple ones took longer, and I did not add more glycerin. That was maybe slightly more, not enough more to make a difference. Having done a lot of glycerin, of adding glycerin to soaps in my titanium dioxide and in my activated charcoal. I use it frequently. I usually don't use it for mica, but you can. I was asked that earlier this week. You can absolutely use glycerin to disperse your mica. Always be aware of how much you're adding. If you add too much, you can get glycerin dew. But just adding enough to incorporate your mica or your clays, it does not generally do that. These did not have a speck of glycerin dew on them, and it was quite humid when I made them and the day after or so. So here's how you remedy that. It's all going to fall to the bottom. So you just slice it off. You could, if you're not feeling adept with the knife like that, you could certainly take your peeler that you have right there and just kind of peel off the back in little strips. It might make the back a little rustic looking, but who cares? Um, and that soap will get used. That little part I'm scraping off, not scraping. You could scrape it as well. I think that would be much messier. But the part I'm slicing off there will get remelted, and hopefully the clay will incorporate better because you will have a better chance to stir it in. And I will not add more clay to it. I will just add more soap, so it will be further diluted, and we'll see. Hopefully, it will still make a soap. Maybe I'll do the scrap soap with that, and include you in it in by videoing what I do. I'm not sure. Um, I'm sorry that the yellow ones, the little Velveeta soaps are right there. By the way, those did come out amazing. Like I said, I've tested them all by now, and the smell is so fabulous. Litsia cubeba is a wonderful lemony scent. The scent of these also fabulous. The ylang ylang extra, if you it's another good alternative to a floral essential oil that lasts fairly well in soap, but especially to me, if you're anchoring it with clay, that's another benefit of adding clay to your soaps. You can anchor the fragrance, especially essential oils. Well, it will anchor any fragrance, but Some of the essential oils that are going to dissipate anyway. Um, so look it up. Just Google what essential oils um, stay in soap or last in soap. Sure, you'll get plenty of answers, and some of them will probably be right. Um, anyway, ylang ylang is fairly doable. Geranium is a wonderful one, and that's why I was and lavender, and all those three are kind of florally, even though lavender can be a little herbal. But those last fairly well in melt and pour soap. If you don't add it when it's really hot, keep that in mind. There's my like skull face. I don't know why that one. That's all I can see. In fact, when I incorporate it into a bigger picture, I turn it upside down because I got tired of looking at that skull face. It was freaking me out a little bit. Um, but and don't forget, you decide what's the top. The whatever way you package it and put your stickers, you decide what's the top, what's the front, what's the back. And it's always good to turn it around and see. So I'm sorry the lighting is not great, and that's why I switched right there. I turned off my overhead light. It was adding too much light, too much brilliance, too much yellow. This isn't great because it's a little cold, so neither one is good, but at least you can see that the lavender is there. It is a much prettier lavender in natural light, but it is still a very pale lavender. Um, don't forget, I did mix that in with a lot of white base, coconut milk base. By the way, if you haven't tried that, the coconut milk detergent free base, I highly recommend it. And I'm not paid to say so. I just love it. And so this is the other purple. It's not purple, it's terracotta, but it's really, really pretty. And it is a lovely soap. I'm hoping to see you soon at the lather test. I'm going to try to get that out this weekend. Thank you all so much for hanging around with me and playing with all these clays. And if you have any input on the different types of Brazilian clays, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Bye.